Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, and welcome to the third episode of the Soul Imagineer Tribal Council. Oh, hey, yo, 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 hey, I, oh, hey, yo, hey, I. All right, I'll stop embarrassing myself. All right, so we've got a new format for this. We've got, oh, no. Wow. I'm too uncool for Little Giants.
I needed a moment.
That's okay. My friend Monkey does that to me all the time.
All
right. Anyways, new format, new people. Well, one old person, one new person. Yeah, great. All right, so let's do the introductions. Returning to the Soul Imagineer Tribal Council show is Little Giant 16. Say hello, Little Giants.
Hi, everybody. I'm back. You're number one on your podcast, number one in your heart. So there you go.
And returning to the So You Want to Be an Imagineer YouTube channel for a second time after his great Elite 8 podcast, we have Voxel, who is going to be a permanent co-host for the Soul Imagineer.
Woohoo!
Yeah, alright, so this is, I'm on the Sclarona side of things. Giants, you're on the Baxtano side of things. And, Voxel, you are an observer, so I guess to get started, how into this are you? How much have you been following?
I follow these like I've pretty much followed all the rest of the competitions when I have time. There's usually a reason I take breaks from the competitions. It's life, work, taxes, everything. So
Indeed.
I'll just I follow along, see what's going on. Usually one or two contestants come to me and rant about things going on. So it's fun for me from the outsider point of view. But now that I'm joining
did people rant about me?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. I don't want to push anyone. I don't want to give anyone strategies away. So you don't have to say who. But that's fine. I totally deserve it.
If somebody's ranting about me, I'm gonna, I gotta exact some revenge here. So we'll talk afterwards.
I signed
right,
confidential documents. I can't tell.
I've got to grab my survivor buff because this would not be appropriate without my survivor buff. So just riff for just a second. I'll be right back.
Oh dear Lord, I'm terrible at improving.
I can improv. Here, I'll tell a joke.
Oh dear.
Guy walks into a bar. Looks around. There's only one empty seat, and it's sitting next to a mushroom. He goes up to the waiter and says, "I don't want to sit next to a mushroom." The waiter says, "Oh, don't worry. He's a fun guy."
That's a terrible pun, but yes.
Okay, so I walked in and I heard I wouldn't want to sit next to a mushroom, but don't worry, he's a fun guy.
Exactly.
Wonderful context for the conversation.
I told a joke.
Yeah,
it's a
right.
bad joke, but it's a joke. I mean, if it was to improv, you don't leave the two of us on screen. Like you're the one that's supposed to run this joint. Like we're just the pretty faces. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I've got my Survivor Africa Boron buff in gear. We are ready to go. We are ready to get started. Do you guys want to jump right into episode 3 of the Soul Imagineer?
Why not?
Let's go for it.
All right, let's do it. So the the reward challenge of episode 3 was called, I believe, Blacklight Building. The assignment was to create a dark ride within Disney's Animal Kingdom. All right, so this is where I've got my little personal story to go along here. So story time, everyone. Story time.
Yay!
Okay, so in my team, we had two distinct ideas going on. We had, I really wanted to do up. I was the guy who pitched up. I was the guy who was like, okay, Peter Pan's flight up. England really liked that idea. The thing kind of shifted a little bit, and people like Infinite in particular kind of came on, so they didn't want to do an IP. And oddly enough, and this is where a lot of the drama from the end of the project comes from, oddly enough, what we were working with was very similar to what Baxtano actually came up with, which was a ride themed around conservation, going into the different biomes, going into the different regions and everything like that, kind of themed around Disney nature a little bit. So in that regard, there was a moment where, on Facebook, I will kind of if I'm frustrated with the direction I'll always work on a project, I'll always give it my all, but you know what I mean? It's there's those certain projects where it's guys, I'm not really sure this is the direction. You guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
This really isn't the direction we should be going down, so I was willing to give it my all, but I was kind of venting to jokers a little bit on Facebook. I was kind of I don't really like this. I don't really like that we're doing this Disney nature thing. It's not really Fantasyland. So fast forward, we get to Up, and then before we get to the ugly stuff, do you guys want to talk about the actual projects, the actual work that came out of it?
Hey, I love drama. I love drama. I mean, keep with the drama. This is great.
I'm going to say, even though I know how this ends, I kind of want to keep hearing the story.
This is great. This is like watching a train wreck. You can't look away.
Oh, God.
True to life. True to life.
This is what I do, man. This is what I do. There's a reason I own this buff from way back in the day. Way back in 2003, baby.
Woo!
Has Survivor really been around for 15 years?
Yes.
Yes, it's been around for 15 years. It's starting its 30th incarnation in 2 weeks. I'm excited about it. Okay, so seriously, guys, let's talk about the actual projects. What do you think of them?
I'm gonna sound like a jackass when I say this, but I honestly thought ours was better. I really did.
That's fine.
But it's one of those, I didn't like Up when I saw it. I'll be honest about it. I never cared for the film. That might have been part of it, but it was also one of those things that, the whole conservation idea, kind of this, like you said, the Disney nature sort of thing. That to me fit with Animal Kingdom pretty well. I'm not a big fan of Avatar Land. That's a conversation for another time. I'm not a big fan of IP in Animal Kingdom to begin with. I think that works in the Lion King show because it's kind of been morphed into a different sort of thing. But yeah, there's not a ton of IP in Animal Kingdom, and I like that. And so that was kind of my take. I really thought that our sort of the kind of conservation, the biome themed, the climate themed ride, that to me fit really well, and fit with what sort of Animal Kingdom trends toward as a park, and really the initial goal of the park as well.
Well, it's really interesting because I really feel like we were coming at this from two different perspectives, and you guys had the knowledge to actually ask our Michael about this, which we never did, so that's our own mistake. So you guys actually got some clarification where we were just sitting here maybe there's some way to clarify what he means, but it's not like we could just type him a message or something.
Well, that's kind of been my thing for the past few challenges. It's like whenever you go back to the Warner Brothers themed one, one of the big problems with stating film rights, like we talked about, is where do you define the film rights, and kind of legally there's different definitions and whatnot. And so, yeah, that's kind of been one of my contributions has been, hey, let's get full clarification on what the rules are.
For sure.
And I'll
props to you.
From an outside point of view, the clarification does need to be kind of cleared up with this competition, especially on this challenge with the definition of Fantasyland.
Yeah, the Fantasyland thing is what I personally ran with. I was steering our team as far away from doing anything non-IP based as possible. So there you go. There was the big divide there.
Well, not even IP based. I think the team, Little Giants team, did a phenomenal job with a non-IP topic, but it's not a Fantasyland story. There's no story to it. Everything about Fantasyland has a resolution to it, and there really wasn't. You were kind of your own resolution.
I mean, I think there is kind of a storyline going on there with the pollution and then the conservation at the very end, but I don't know. I want to give you guys props for a good project because I feel like a total a-hole about what I did. So.
Oh, it's a phenomenal project. I will not argue that at all. I just, like I said, when you think Fantasyland, you think of a wonderful story that has a very clear-cut ending, and you're kind of giving it. It's almost more of a Epcot dark ride more than a Fantasyland dark ride.
I mean, I'm going to be a total nerd right now and kind of argue that Fantasyland dark rides don't have clear-cut endings. Because when you think about, like, the witch just suddenly died.
That is true.
This is just in Disneyland. The witch suddenly dying. Mr. Toad literally sending you to hell.
The one I will get back to, what's the ending of Small World? What's the story arc of Small World?
Very true.
That was kind of one of the thoughts that I had at the time was, well, maybe it isn't Fantasyland, maybe it is, whatever. But then I started thinking, well, you look at the ones that aren't IP based, taking out Peter Pan and Pooh and whatever. But it's a Small World. You don't have a clear-cut narrative throughout, and then you kind of take that. You can take that on to like the Haunted Mansion. There's not this clear-cut narrative. It's close enough. I mean that was kind of my thought. Was
with examples with Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, I kind of feel like those are kind of the best examples of Imagineering. It's kind of like choose your own adventure style Imagineering.
True.
It's like there's all the details in front of you, but it's not spelled out at all. And that's my favorite thing that Imagineering does.
But those two are not original element. Those two are not Fantasyland.
That's true.
And Small World came later in Fantasyland. I mean, when you think Fantasyland originally, you're talking Peter Pan.
It all depends on where you draw the line and what you decide. What you decide counts as a Fantasyland style.
Oh, exactly. That's what I meant about kind of the whole clarification issue. Fantasyland's such a broad definition.
Because, I mean, you're right. Like, when I think Fantasyland, first of all, I hate to say it, I do instantly think IPs. I mean, Small World's a good example. I'll give you that. That is an original Fantasyland attraction that I hadn't thought of. But I do think, that Fantasyland really was back in the day, back when that land was originally conceived. I mean, think about it. Even Sleeping Beauty's castle was named Sleeping Beauty's Castle to promote something that was still 3 years away. So Fantasyland has always been very tied to IPs.
And that's one thing I would say to our Michael as a host. He needs to do a better job of wording I'll call him a prompt, if you will, wording those a little more carefully. Because whenever you include these words like Fantasyland style, whenever you include those sort of phrases, film rights in the Warner Brothers Challenge, whenever you say these things that can be taken in a number of different ways, I think it's fine if he just says, make a dark ride. But when you say a Fantasyland style dark ride, that's where you run into problems. Because if you just say, make a dark ride, we all know what a dark ride is. I mean,
a dark ride could be anything from Mr. Toad to Haunted Mansion. It's just such a wide range.
I mean, heck, dark ride can go from Small World all the way up to Forbidden Journey if you really want to take it that far.
Yeah.
I mean, so that way you give people whatever they want to do, however they want to do it. If you want to put a stipulation on it, say they have to use an Omnimover, or you have to use a boat, or you've got to use something that we all know what it means. But when you say Fantasyland style, that's where you run into troubles.
So you could see where the disconnect kind of came into play. You could see where. Now let's go ahead and get into it. Anything to say about my Up project? Because we kind of talked about the.
I think Up fits beautifully in Animal Kingdom. I understand the whole IP dislike in Animal Kingdom, and I'm with that 100%. But I love the sense of Up, and I feel like Up does encapsulate what Animal Kingdom is about, and that's that sense of adventure. That's why the paths in Animal Kingdom wind in through the woods. They did a great job. I will give your team credit for you hit up from the majority of the rest of the park. It wasn't like a sore thumb, and I think you did a good job. I think you did a great job of kind of getting that exploration topic.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely certain things. And keep in mind, I was the one that kind of originally pitched this idea, and then I was kind of giving pointers along the way. But really, my main contribution was honestly just that silly Charles Muntz mustache that I grew out for that video. Adventure is out there. But I'll give all the credit in the world to to other members of my team for coming up with the actual write-up. But one thing I did come up with that made it in that I'm really proud of is how the queue transitioned into kind of earthly sepia tones, and that's how you get into kind of like the old school kind of like Carl and Ellie as kids.
Yeah. And
then you transition back out of that. And I made the point like a few times in the brainstorm. I was like, Wizard of Oz. Like, think Wizard of Oz. Like we're in kind of like this sort of sepia-toned, kind of like fuzzy memory sort of thing. And then suddenly, like, Paradise Falls. And it's all beautiful and majestic. And so that's really the effect I was going for. But yeah, I do think that it's a very interesting result. And, I mean, of course, just speaking for me personally, I am very, very, very apologetic about the way that I reacted to us losing and everything, and the Musketeers twist. I mean, I've already gone over this. I literally woke up in the middle of the night after I'd been napping for like half a day. And so you could imagine my mind was like all scrambled. And so I'm not trying to make excuses. It was me being a poor sport. That's all there is to it. It was me being a poor sport. And
it happens. I mean, it's happened. I mean, England and I can vouch for it. Him and I went off on the whole 10-10 thing months ago, being a complete poor sport about it.
2 years ago, England and I got into it. He called me out on basically the first thing I'd ever done on the website. He calls me out and says, "Well, he's not doing enough, and this and that." And so, hey, we've all been there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a show.
It's well, and I don't. It's just one of those things where it's like I just never want this kind of stuff to bleed into my real life, and I kind of feel like in that instance, I kind of let that happen. You know what I mean? I kind of let my insecurity and kind of some of my emotional issues kind of like get in the way and sort of like it's a game. It's like, what the hell are we doing? It's like our Michael left the $1 million in Anaheim. There's
Hey, that was my line. That was my line.
Really? Is it?
Yeah, I am owning that. That was me. All me.
So it's like at the end of the day, what the hell are we playing for? Just bragging rights?
Exactly.
For me to get that upset about it is just looking back on it, it's just ridiculous. And
it's natural though. I mean, you have a sense of pride of things you work on, and I mean, anytime someone this is a project you're working on, even, I mean, college and real world working, you have a sense of like, okay, it may be crap, but I'm going to stand up for it and fight for it.
Right, so I think this is a good place right here. Let's talk about kind of the main focal point of this podcast, what the podcast was named after. Musketeer who? Yeah, let's talk about the Musketeer twist. All right. Giants, what was your reaction as you heard it?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Loved it?
I absolutely. I would have hated it had I been on the losing tribe, but I absolutely.
Of course you would have. Of course you would have.
Because that meant that everybody on my tribe was staying that week. Didn't matter what happened in the immunity challenge. It didn't mean a thing. If the 5 of us stuck together, one of you guys were going home. That's all that mattered.
Okay, you see,
it's that. I mean, that's why. I mean, from a very game perspective, it didn't.
Of course.
What happened for the immunity challenge? I didn't care. I would have honestly. I was glad we lost because that meant that we could take out one of the 3 best players on the other tribe.
I'm glad you're mentioning this. I'm glad you're mentioning this because this is presenting me with the uncomfortable dynamic that I was in.
Mm-hmm. No.
I would have honestly rather our tribe lost
Mm-hmm.
if the Musketeers twist would have gone down the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm comfortable in my tribe's dynamics.
Yeah.
We know who's in with who, we know who's contributing what, we know who's been active, we know each other, we are a group. And so in this situation, I would have honestly just rather lose. And here's my thing. That's our Michael. Like Little Giant said, I think in terms of providing drama and in terms of just providing like a holy crap, what the hell is happening, that is like a jaw-dropping moment. It's an excellent twist. I've got to give you props for that. It is, like, I've not thought of something like that in the 12 years I've run So You Want to Be an Imagineer. So it's a hell of a twist. And it's definitely dramatic. It's one of those things. It feels so sweet if you're on the winning side of it, and it stings like hell if you're on the losing side of it. But I guess my one issue is just really quickly, I don't like the fact that I was kind of actively rooting for our team to lose. I didn't like being put into that position.
I never said it outwardly in any of the PMs that we had going, but I will own the fact that I was hoping we lost. Mm-hmm. I will own that fact because it was honestly, if you think about it, it was in the 5 of our best interests on next time. It was in our best interest to lose. Mm-hmm. Because if we lose, then that means that, and if we lose and we stick together, which I can tell you we would have,
I believe you.
One of you guys is going to go home because you can't come up with the votes to beat us. And we're going to knock out one of the best people from the other tribe, and we're one step closer to the merge because of it. It didn't.
Exactly.
The one problem that the reward had is it nullified the immunity challenge. It made it in both tribes' best interest to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
in a weird way, I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's what our Michael kind of intended on. Like, maybe he wanted to throw in kind of that really weird dynamic of like, okay, mm-hmm. It's like we're on the team, and I did genuinely. Okay, here's the thing, just getting into the Frozen project. Mm-hmm. I've been burned by Frozen. I mean, I have had comments by myself to just if you saw the Frozen podcast and what happened with me and Rob Alvey and everything, and so when I'm just not into Frozen at all. My contribution was the Olaf Summer Fun, and I actually really liked working on that. That was a fun time. I like designing flat rides for a change, but that's the thing. I didn't want to do anything other than a flat ride. You know what I mean? I didn't want to get all invested in designing the e-ticket and where everything went. And I was just like, give me a flat ride. I'll do a flat ride. I pretty much said that from day one. I was like, give me this flat ride to do. I will do it. Other than that, I'm out.
And perhaps that is why Frozen was chosen, because the vibe I've gotten from kind of the majority of players was, oh my God, Frozen, really?
Yeah.
That feeling that both teams were going to try to lose because of that reward, because of that immunity or that reward that came about.
Well, it's one of those. Frozen's fine. It's whatever. You're not going to make an entire damn land out of it. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
That was my reaction.
I can tell you when in our PM, somebody threw out the ride of a bobsled, and we kind of got to the point that, what the hell are we going to do? How do we make an entire land out of this one movie?
That was my entire reaction.
Star Wars, I get, right? Like, if you wanted to say, oh, make Star Wars land, or even a Star Wars park, I think I could do that. I think a group of us could come up with enough stuff out of Star Wars to make up a park. Harry Potter, you can come up with enough stuff to make a land or two.
Absolutely.
Frozen?
Yeah.
Hey, you're telling me that we can't make a land on Olaf and his people? Olaf and his people, we can make an entire land. No, there's
Or what if we just What if we just make it based on Once Upon a Time and their interpretation of Frozen, and then we can have Storybrooke in there and everything?
But then you're going into like Drunky Town 24/7 if you go into that movement.
That's the thing, though. I'll say, for my money, this past media challenge was the weakest turnout that we've had so far by both tribes.
I would agree.
This is by far the weakest week we had. I mean, it's. You know, I thought that the dark rides were okay. I mean, they were pretty good, but neither of us did well. I mean, I know my tribe. I didn't contribute much. I wrote the openers. I wrote some stuff.
I did like what your tribe did with the nighttime show with Elsa's Palace. I really did like that, and I thought you presented it well. That was a good video. That was a really good touch.
No, I mean it's one of those that somebody threw out the idea of, oh, let's put it back here by a holding pond and stuff, and let's put water around it. And it's just kind of like, we can't come up with a better place to put it than that. I mean, you got to go through Dumbo Land to get to it. Like, guys, that's a crowd control nightmare. But it's like, you know, what happened with JDM. I didn't get on until after it had been decreed that was where we were going to put it. So I'm kind of like, you know, I don't want to say anything because, okay, we lose and something goes wrong, I could go home.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's like if you stick your head and you're like, okay, we need to do this, especially when there's been so many ideas contributed, that is kind of just an awkward situation with you.
Exactly.
And there were, I mean, looking out from an outsider point of view, there were so many decisions made by both teams that I was going, what the? They made no sense.
What, just based on our projects?
Yes, the projects.
Like what?
Well, crowd control #1 on your Frozen Land on All Giants team. You have a little path going to future Tomorrowland, and then you have to go through Dumbo and all the screaming kids to get to.
Right.
What the heck?
It's the Festival of the Lion King times 10.
Oh, exactly.
It's literally Festival of the Lion King times 10.
Exactly. And then.
You know,
go ahead.
Go for it. Go.
Well, I was going to say, then you had a ride design that had 2 seats per row and 44 rows per car. And I looked at that and I'm just like, so we're going to have a ride contraption that's yay wide and yay long. And it confused me. Wait, what ride was this? This was the double Himalayan flat ride style attraction that you guys had.
Yeah, I mean,
it threw me for a loop. I was like, okay.
I'll own that. Like, you know, that was also one of those, everybody kind of got in line behind the Himalaya type ride. And I'm just kind of like, really? Guys, we have this at the county fair.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, okay, I get that they have cheap teacup knockoffs at the county fair, but I mean, like, they don't have Dumbo and like.
Exactly.
I've seen Dumbos at county fairs. I beg to differ.
No, I've never seen.
Well, you're from California, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Hey, I'm from Indiana. We have a festival.
I'm just saying I've literally seen like rides where it's like, oh, and even if they're not Dumbos, you definitely see Dumbo type rides at county fair, like be it planes or stuff like that.
We're in Virginia. We're excited if we have a cornfield that we can play.
Hey, we have an entire festival called the Corn Festival.
Yeah.
That is not a lie. Like, I mean, the Corn Festival.
I'll swing up to Pumpkin Chunkin' occasionally up in Delaware, but that's about it.
Okay. Really, I want to see some pumpkins fly.
It's quite. That's what they need at Disney World. Let's get an attraction where you can throw pumpkins in the air.
Could it be Jack Skeleton themed?
Ooh, perfect! Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hey, perfect holiday themed, attraction. Just bring it in for the holidays.
Exactly.
Just roll it out.
Up in the
it's like one of them big giant swing things, right? Like you charge like $60 to do, and then people will pay for it. I mean, I'd pay money to chuck a pumpkin. That'd be awesome. Paint it up,
That's going to be this episode's hashtag. Hashtag chuck a pumpkin. There you go. There you go. To all the 2 people that are watching.
Let's do this for ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay. So Anything about the Frozen project else that we need to cover? Or should we move on to?
Besides the fact that I think this has been the weakest project from that, even challenge-wise, not even material produced, but as a challenge, this was an extremely, in my mind, terrible challenge, and I will say that because I'm not a contestant and I don't have fear of being winding down. But I read this and I said, wait, you want 2 rides and a Frozen mini? What? It just doesn't click. Things like if Disney Sea, okay, that makes sense somewhat, but in the Magic Kingdom of all places,
yeah, it was just weak. I mean, even from a prompt perspective, it was weak. It seemed like, I would have gotten it had we done this like week 1.
Exactly.
If we do this out of the gate, it makes sense to me because you're getting everybody kind of greased up. You're trying to get the juices going. A lot of us have been on a layoff, and we're trying to get things back rolling. That makes sense because this is literally the obvious challenge.
Yeah.
This is right now. This is the challenge that is obvious. And I was almost getting to the point where I was expecting it wasn't going to happen, because I would have figured it would have happened weeks 1 or 2. Like, I'm thinking, hey, maybe Michael's not going to go with the obvious. Maybe this is going to be awesome. Like, we've had a lot of really good challenge ideas so far. We've had a lot of good challenges. I love
the Warner Brothers one. That was a ton of fun.
That was really interesting, because I didn't think of that, and I'm just thinking, we've had a lot of really good ideas and a lot of really good challenges. For my money, this has been one of the best challenge-wise competitions we had in a while.
Just from really good content being produced from both teams, for sure.
But then the Frozen challenge that was going to happen came out, and it didn't work.
This will be the challenge. This will be the challenge everyone forgets. This is the football game of the season that is just like, I don't really care. This is my UVA beating Harvard 70-20. I'm not going to remember the game. It's not.
Well, I mean, I don't think people. I think people are going to remember this because of the Musketeers twist, if anything.
I don't even think they'll remember it for that. I think it's going to be out of their minds next week.
I know I won't. I mean, because, well, and I think this is a perfect segue into talking about the kind of end of the Musketeers twist, because the Musketeers twist didn't mean anything.
It didn't.
Ultimately didn't mean anything. Like, I mean, and this is my peeve, and I've got a rant about this. If you want to, anybody wants to say anything.
Open floor. Go ahead.
That was a load of horse crap.
Oh boy.
That was an absolutely atrocious decision.
Oh god.
From R. Michaels, and I will own that. And if he wants to say anything, I will own it. I'm not gonna go out and say Jose Lorenzo did not deserve to go home. He probably did. He probably deserved to leave the competition. That being said, we at Axtona, we won the reward challenge fair and square. We lost the challenge. But because we lost the challenge, we had the opportunity to eliminate a member of the other tribe, whether that's right or not. Whether you agree with that, we had won that right. And to give us no say in the elimination of the week. We won fair and square, and then we probably did what was in the best interest of the 5 of our games. We lost. That was probably what was in our best interest at the end of the day. And then to find out that we don't have the opportunity to eliminate one of the 3 best competitors in the whole field, I thought that was the wrong call. I thought it was just a wrong decision just in general. I thought it was an unfair decision. I don't label a lot of things as unfair. I thought it was unfair.
I would have to agree with you. I mean, as much as I would hate to see any of those 3 players leave from the competition, the rule was stated. There wasn't a reward. I would hate to be on your team right now. You would feel shafted. I mean, that's how I view this decision. It's like a bad ref call. I mean, you said something and then you went around and did something different.
I think the thing of it is that it's not even so much as a bad call. It's changing the rules halfway through the game. right? Like, I mean, it's you know, you've done, you know, X thing, and you're under the impression that X, Y outcome is going to be happen because of X thing, and then Y outcome doesn't come out of no fault of your own. You know, I mean, it's kind of like a team kicks a field goal and the ref decides it's only worth 1 point instead of 3, and they lose the game because of it. I mean, now, is it that extreme? Maybe not, but it's still, that was the wrong call, in my opinion.
I'm going to go ahead and lob some of the blame that you guys are putting on R. Michael and go ahead and place it onto myself. Because I feel like I kind of forced R. Michael's hand in this in a number of ways. Because I was the one that was very, very vocal about the fact that Jose hadn't been contributing. It's funny, Jose is just a really interesting, kind of weird story arc. It's like he was completely invisible in episode 1, and then, or in Project 1, and then he shows up for the immunity challenge, and he does a lot of work, and he's very active, but kind of in a wonky way. And then he just disappears off the face of the map after that. Practically says to vote him out. So, from my perspective, I think, okay, here's the thing. I would have been fine with, I would have been fine with the Musketeers twist taking place. I just think that Jose had to go in the process. So, essentially, what I think had to happen is I think maybe it would have been in the best interest for everyone if Jose went, just because he'd been gone for 3 challenges, and, you know, and he's just kind of a dead weight on our tribe. I mean, he's going to be a dead weight throughout the whole game. I mean, I hate to say that about the guy, because he was really nice in the brief interactions I've had with him. But,
at the same time, it's good for my game if Jose's in the game. It's bad for your game, but it's good for me because he's dead weight. He's a dead spot, and you know that's one person that's still around that probably isn't going to do much to beat me. I know any of you.
I just don't want that kind of person to make the merge. I'm fine with that kind of person existing in a team-based kind of way in terms of, like, I see what you're saying. When it comes to the merge, when it comes to we're all here to play, I don't want those kind of people making the merge.
No, I think that's a fair point. I think it is.
And to be honest with you, I think I took it too extreme. My whole thing was if Jose wasn't going to show up, I just didn't think he should make the merge. It was not my call to eliminate Jose outright.
And I think that's fair. That is extremely fair. I mean, England and I did something kind of similar in Sorcerer's Apprentice. We emailed JDM about our player, but this was, we kicked him off on our team to save another team from losing 2 players. So I've done that interaction before, and I know it is, in the end, it's the judge's decision. In this case, I still agree that it's kind of, in a way, they got shafted because they didn't get the choice. But I think it was a smart choice to get rid of someone who's not interacting. But I think something should have been given in return to that team.
I agree. I totally agree. I honestly maybe think that just put on the Musketeers twist, maybe tweak it a little bit so that people are actually motivated to win, and just continue it in episode 4.
I would have been totally fine with Jose being eliminated. That doesn't bother me. Whether he stays or whether he goes, I don't care. Whatever. I just thought it was wrong that there was no tribal council. I thought it was wrong that there was no vote. Because if R. Michael wants to eliminate him from the game, fine, whatever. I don't mind. I just think that
it was basically a medevac in Survivor terms.
Yeah, kind of. If he wants to be medevaced, if he wants to walk off, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that the vote shouldn't happen, because the vote should happen. We won the reward, and we won that reward. Once we'd figure out what it was, we were under the impression the whole time that even if we lost,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least my thought was, even if we lose, the 5 of us are good. Like, I mean, it's probably in our best interest to lose, because if you guys win, you know, you're probably going to vote out Jose. If we win, we're probably going to vote out England. Like,
Oh, wait. From what I understood about the twist, and maybe I'm understanding this wrong, but if we lost, I believe that only the 3 Musketeers could have been voted out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
okay. That makes sense then.
yeah, so it would have essentially been let's see, Infinite and Matt, and then the 3 Musketeers would have been voting amongst themselves, you know, and then Infinite and Matt, who aren't in the Musketeers, would be voting, and then of course I'm assuming Jose would not show up to vote, and so that's how that would have gone down.
Okay.
There would have been no chance to vote out Jose.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But can you see my motivation for wanting to lose in that sort of situation?
Oh,
because,
yeah. No.
like I said, I know my tribe dynamics. Like, even though we can't vote out the weakest person, I know how I can work it to try and make it so that I can stay in and try and make it so that it's the best for my game. Going over and being at the mercy of you guys, especially after I was a total asshole, I think I would have been screwed.
No. Well, we never had the conversation. I think that, you know, since it came in the results that Jose was going home, we never had the conversation about who was going home if we lost. I like England a lot, and that's why I would have completely said that's who we need to get rid of.
Cutthroat strategy game right there.
100%. That would have been my vote, no questions asked. He's the guy on your team with the longest track record.
And there's a reason.
He is.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no question.
And he is absolutely the anchor of our challenges. I mean, not to get too into the reward challenge, because we're gonna save that for episode 4. But oh my God, did you guys see that menu? I mean, come on. I mean, that's all England.
I mean, he's a stud. He is a stud, and I know that, and the rest of us know that. And
I mean, there's a reason.
That's part of why I wish that we could have voted, because he would be gone. Like, he'd be probably the best player on the other tribe. Is gone. If the vote used to happen.
Because for me, I totally was under the impression the entire week that if I went to your guys' camp, I would be gone because of how I acted.
I think that England would have been gone. I mean, I'm gonna side. I mean, there's a reason he's my #1 choice whenever I have to choose a team. I mean, he is a powerhouse in everything he can do.
Because to me, I just thought that me reacting the way I did, acting so childish about it, acting like such a jerk about it, I thought that was just a killer move on my part. I thought it was just a total social blunder on my end.
While you made a social blunder, you are still somewhat of an unknown, though, in this competition. I mean, we don't know your entire skill set. We don't know what's your specialty. You're not specialty. Everyone knows England. Everyone knows he is a strong. There's a reason he's made as far as he does in all the competitions.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we know whenever we look at England. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. You know, for the most part, a lot of people on the boards, they kind of have something that they're good at, right? Like, me, about the only thing I can do is write. I mean, you know.
I'm kind of right with there, but
I mean,
and then I can like do goofy little character videos, and that's about it.
You know, I mean, most of the opening paragraphs that you read that are kind of fluffy and frilly, I write all of those. Or Michael likes them. I mean, I do all that. I do all the big, broad scope paragraphs. That's about all I can do. Fox, you're a tech guy. I mean, it's who you are. You're not I mean, you're a tech guy. We all know it. We all love you for it. England can do it all.
Oh, yeah.
He can do a little bit of everything.
I mean, England is just like, he's like the Batman of armchair matches.
He's also got I'm calling him out on age here. I don't mean to. But he's got the years of experience that a lot of us don't have. I mean, this is a guy who's worked in worked in children industries. He's worked in IT industries.
Worked in like 5-star restaurants, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was a chef at one of them at some point.
Yeah.
Well, look at it, okay? I mean, honestly, the three of us are probably the three of the oldest people around. I mean, I can remember a time whenever it was me and England and Red, and that was it.
Yeah.
We were the old people, and it was a bunch of 10-year-olds. And God bless the 10-year-olds. I mean, they've all grown up, and they're wonderful people. But I mean, we're a bunch of 10-year-olds. I mean, and the age has gone up significantly since you guys came over, but it's still one of those. He's a lot older than any of us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Ooh, he's 30. He's in his mid-30s. Ooh, so old.
Hey, I'm 20. I'm only 21.
Oh,
Shit, I haven't held a real job. Are you kidding me?
God,
I'm right there with you, man. I have so much anxiety about that. I've had like part-time summer jobs, but yeah.
And when it comes down to real world, I'm probably the closest to him with the 3 years at a full-time job and turning 24 next Saturday.
Ooh, take a shot for me.
There will be 24 shots involved, and it will be a lot.
Attaboy. That's what I like to hear. That's what
I turned 24 in December, and I didn't mind it. I just don't want to turn 25. I don't want to get over the hump of my early 20s.
Come on, then renting a car's cheaper, though, when you turn 25.
This is true. Insurance goes down as well.
Oh, yes, exactly. It goes like halfway.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
Well,
So
back to the player mode.
Yeah.
The move would have been to get rid of England. I mean, anyone
Absolutely.
looking outside of it would probably have gone that route.
it was just me being paranoid about like my social blunder, I guess. To me, it was kind of like, okay, I freaked out at the Musketeers twist. I didn't want to freak out again if I got voted out. So I was just kind of mentally preparing myself. You know what I mean? Like throughout the whole.
I'll tell you, for my money, the only thing that your sort of freak out told me is that if somebody really wanted to push your buttons, they could. I mean, that's all that I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, and in my estimation, I'm gonna. I mean, let's say I get to the merge and it's me and you and a couple other guys, and I decide, you know what? Besides me, you're the best person out there, and I want you to go home. I'm gonna start pushing your buttons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna keep you around for that reason. England.
Okay.
England's the troll. I mean.
Oh God.
England is the button pusher.
I mean, he was He was around when internet first started trolling. This is a guy.
England is a troll.
I used to troll a lot, and this is a guy who knows more about trolling than I do
on this podcast.
No, I mean, he's a great dude.
He's amazing.
Like, he is the guy that honestly, in a social game like this, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah,
I mean, I talk to him about as much as I talk to anybody on the forums, and I don't know what he's gonna do. Vox, you might, just because you're not in on it, but.
To be honest, no. He's kept fairly tight-lipped. Almost everyone I've talked to, though, has kept fairly tight-lipped on their strategies.
I can tell you personally, I think England is outwardly presenting basically all of the contestants with "I'm not playing a strategic game,"
which is a load of horse shit.
I
mean, let's be honest, guys.
No, Survivor is like Big Brother. You have to be conniving. You have to be. I mean, come on, wasn't it last season that Big Brother, the guy who won, was an undercover cop for 20-some years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about how you hide yourself and how you.
He's the GOAT.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like, I don't. I mean, to put it simply, Institute. He wasn't going home. He's a pup. I mean, he's not my pick to win, right? So that leaves between you, Tiki, and England, right? Reason number one why England goes home, we've seen him do it before. We've seen him win. We've seen him come second. We've seen him come third. He's as good and as solid as any of them. Reason number two, he's a troll. He can push any of our buttons. He can make most of us do it. Okay? He is dangerous on the social side. He's dangerous on the game side. He was my vote 110%. I'll bet you right now that Zui and Vipra and T-Cool and everybody else, we would have fallen in line behind each other, and he would have gone home, and there would have been no question. It would have been a five-man vote. I mean,
I said,
bang, 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 bang.
I kind of figured that England was the biggest threat. I just didn't know how much social damage my little outburst had caused.
No, I mean, I think that's not in any way a knock on England saying that we wanted to vote him out. We wanted to vote him out because he's good. Like,
of course.
It's better for all of us if he's not there. Because not only does that help us when we get to the merge, that helps us now because you guys are a weaker team.
And if all of you can get on the forum right now, England just changed his avatar to be Batman.
That's exactly what I was hoping for.
Thank God. I love that he watches these.
Batman with ears. Batman with Mickey ears.
Oh my God.
Really?
That's wonderful.
Yes, he did.
Where is he? England, where you be? I have to see this. This is hilarious. Oh. Oh man, that's awesome.
He's the hero that this contest deserves, but not the one that it needs right now.
He is the man. Lord Almighty, what would we do without him?
I don't know. I really don't know.
He is the forum Jeebus. Oh my.
All
yes,
right.
that was.
Okay, so
far off topic.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much a good spot to end. We've kind of covered all the basics. We covered the ramifications of Jose being eliminated and all of that. We've covered all the projects and everything. So, any last words? Any parting thoughts that you guys have?
This immunity challenge should be fun.
I haven't looked at it yet, so.
I know. I mean, it's. Let's see. Pitchers and catchers report in about 10 days, so that's great.
Nice.
Yeah, I did baseball. I'm just glad we got someone to change their avatar today. That was when I woke up this morning. I said, I want someone to change their avatar today because of what I do today. And by God, I accomplished it. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm just dropping the mic and I'm walking away.
All right. Any last words, Vox?
I'm so glad to be a co-host now. This is actually a lot of fun, so I'm excited. I'm loving seeing what people are doing. I'm praying for no more Frozen because, spring is coming.
Oh, yeah.
No more winter is coming. Let's get rid of this. No Game of Thrones, no Frozen, nothing. Spring. And that's all I got.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in and watching this third and very well-tweaked edition of the Soul Imagineer Tribal Council. I think we got all the bugs worked out. I think this should be a really fun show moving forward. So hopefully Little Giants isn't listening because I'm going to go into my little chant right now on the way out. Oh, yo, 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 yo,